All right, lost continents, baby. This is my favorite. This is my favorite topic by far. It's just so interesting to think that there was other lands here that the whole civilization got swallowed up on. You know, this is a really interesting article. I've had it for a while. It's from 1936. Not all of it I believe, I guess you could say, but it's just really fun information. I mean, most of the articles I read, I don't believe in all of it. I just take little pieces of it and kind of put a cohesive idea of what I think the world is and was. So, screw you, bro. Did Eve eat the apple on lost land of Mu? That's right, Mu, baby. Churchward. If you haven't read his books, you should. Authorities place first civilization on lost continent of Mu, probably in the Pacific. Probably, we don't know, but probably. Where was the Garden of Eden? Where Eve first became stubborn and picked the red apple from a tree. Stubborn women. In Asia, in that vast wasteland with a single green plot where man originated and from which came the biblical epic of creation. No, says James Churchward, who has spent 50 years proving something entirely different. His researches and world travels were recently written after the accumulation of documented evidence that mankind first lived on Earth on an unknown continent. Mu, the lost continent of the Pacific. Relics, picture writings, glyphs, and legends in every country have come to light, which not only prove that Mu existed some 10,000 years ago, but give a remarkable tale of its civilization. Yeah, guys, the islands over there in the Micronesia area, dude, I think they talk about some of it. Just look up the ruins there. It's so obvious. This great island continent was as large as North America, with its center on the equator. Its inhabitants numbered over 60 million natives of the motherland of man, from which spread colonies to Mexico, North America, China, Japan, Egypt, India, and other parts of the ancient world. If you remember the last article in San Diego, where he found the cave and found all of those Egyptian tombs, mummified bodies, under San Diego Bay and San Diego. So wouldn't it make sense that, maybe that civilization started here? Or maybe it was worldwide civilization, worldwide. I can't help but do Pitbull's voice when I say worldwide. I'm sorry, this is the second time. Author of several fascinating volumes which cite glyphs and interpretations of ancient records. The Children of Mu, The Sacred Symbols of Mu, and The Lost Continent of Mu, published by Ives Washburn. What a name. Great books. Read them. It expands your mind so much. You don't have to believe it all, but the pieces you get from it, guys. Churchward explains how he first was able to decipher prehistoric picture writings, stories which escaped destruction when Mu suffered from earthquake and flood, and sank beneath the surface in a few hours. Isn't it funny how Atlantis and Mu both did it? It's kind of like, did it though? I'm kind of under the impression that Atlantis was America. I mean, I'm sure there was continents out there in the Pacific and Atlantic. But yeah, I think the center point was probably America. And not that long ago, yeah, anyways, it was famine time in India. Churchward says, I was assisting in relief work, the highest priest of a college temple. Although I did not know it at first, he was exceedingly interested in archaeology and the records of ancients, and had a greater knowledge of those subjects than any other living man. One day, being in a talkative mood, he told me there were a number of ancient tablets in the secret archives of the temple. What they consisted of, he did not know, for he had seen only the chatties containing them. 6 months passed, curiosity or anxiety about their condition, and had won the contest over my priestly friend, for one evening on the table in front of him, 2 of the ancient tablets were lying on a cloth. Fortunately, the next tablets he procured were not of the same series, but had to do with an entirely different subject, and in order to find the consecutive tablets, all had to be brought out. It was well, for many of the tablets had been so badly packed that they were broken. These were stored with cement. When I repacked them, I wrapped each tablet in tissue paper and cotton wool. Months of intense concentration in translating the tablets followed, but the reward justified the effort. The writings described in detail the creation of the earth and of man, and the place where he first appeared, Mu. The scholar searched ancient Buddhist temples in Burma for further tablets to complete these crumbling records, but was not successful. He then studied the old records of earlier civilizations and compared them with the picture writings of Mu. He found that the civilizations of the early Greeks, the Chaldeans, the Babylonians, the Persians, the Egyptians, and the Hindus had been definitely preceded by the civilization of Mu. The amazing record of Mu's destruction he found in the famous Troano manuscript. The whole continent heaved and rolled like the ocean's waves. The land trembled and shook like the leaves of a tree in a storm. Temples and palaces came crashing to the ground, and monuments and statues were overturned. The cities were in heaps of ruins. An ancient Hawaiian legend relates that huge cataclysmic waves rolled in over the shores and extended themselves over the plains. And to think of Hawaii being like the top of a mountain range is wild, isn't it? And I mean, yeah, it freaking Easter Island, like, come on. A total of 50 million square miles of water engulfed Mu. Temples, palaces, all the culture of the world's first civilization perished. Thereafter, for a period of thousands of years until the present, nothing was known of the lost continent or its people. Churchward says that savagery and cannibalism came after Mu was lost, naturally, and that civilization did not spring from a primitive culture, but preceded it. Thus, he accounts for the customs and savage forms of life on many of the Pacific islands. Today's inhabitants of the Fijis, Tonga, Taboo, Tahiti, Panapi, and the Ladrones and Marquesas are the descendants of Mu, various tribes who escaped a disaster but were left without anything but their hands to produce food and shelter. Rapidly, these people became cannibals, eating their relatives to preserve the race and keep from starvation. Gradually, they forgot their greatest past. Until today, only legends remain, together with rare inscriptions relating the history of the motherland. From the records study, it appears certain that these and nearby islands of the South Pacific were at one time parts of the lost continent, that when Mu vanished, these projections of land remained. To substantiate this, Churchward has discovered remarkable stone remains on various islands. Here we go. Stone temples, great stone walls, stone-lined canals, stone-paved roads, huge monoliths, and statues give evidence of a prehistoric civilization. You can find that in America. The work of artists of Mu, certainly not the creations of the present native tribes. Legend and a haze of romantic tales surround these relics of the past, and everything known about them points to the lost continent as their source. Modern explorers have trouble in locating these ruins, for the islanders frequently consider them the haunts of spirits, Mali, and securing guides is difficult. On Easter Island is an ancient inscription which, translated, relates. When this island was first created and became known to our forefathers, the land was crossed with roads beautifully paved with flat stones. These stones were laid together so nicely that no rough edges were exposed. Coffee trees were growing close together along the borders of the roads. They met overhead and their branches were laced together like muscles. On Tonga Tuba, a large coral atoll of the Tonga group, stands a great stone monument in the shape of an arch. There is no native stone on this island. The arch itself is estimated as weighing 165 tons. The closest land is over 200 miles distance, and the only explanation is that this monument was erected before Tonga Tuba became an island. Panapi contains the ruins of an immense temple. Its great walls, which still stand the ravages of time and weather, carry carvings of the sacred symbols of Mu. Canals of this temple connect its vaults. The stone is basalt. Churchward says that these and other ruins of this island mark one of Mu's capital cities, once populated by thousands. On the Ladrone group, which includes Guam, stand tall, truncated columns as high as 20 feet, with carved capitals. Some, says Churchward, are capped with a stone hemispherical in shape. In other cases, these stones lie on the ground as if they had been shaken off by seismic disturbance. Samoa, the Marquesas, and Hawaii have similar stone ruins, each telling the same story, added evidence of the continent of Mu, the motherland. Perhaps the most important records referring to Mu are the Troana manuscript. This is what blew my mind in his books. A Maya book from Yucatan considering to be 5,000 years old, and the Nakal tablets discovered by Churchward in India. Another ancient Maya book, the Codex, eventually copied from temple records, tells how Mu was destroyed. I'm not going to say this word. I'm not even going to try. By his strong arm Homan caused the earth to tremble after sunset, and during the night Mu, the country of the hills of earth, was submerged. Mu, the life of the seas, was submerged by Homan during the night. The place of the dead ruler is now lifeless. It moves no more after having twice jumped from its foundations. The king of the deep, while forcing his way out, has shaken it up and down, has killed it, has submerged it. The Uxmal temple of Yucatan, called Temple of Sacred Mysteries, bears carvings on its walls which read, "This edifice is a commemorative monument dedicated to the memory of Mu, the lands of the West, the land of Kui, the birthplace of our sacred mysteries. The temple faces west toward the spot where Mu sank." The scientific explanations of Mu's destruction, Churchward believes, was that vast chambers of gas underlying the island continent expanded and contracted, and the supporting roofs caved in, and submersion of land above logically followed. The calamity which overtook this early civilization was due to the emptying of a series of isolated upper gas chambers that were upholding the land, and which were probably connected with each other by cracks and fissures. Sounds like me after I eat ice cream. The chambers which upheld Mu were very near the surface of the land. I base this opinion on the depths of the Pacific Ocean. The Troano manuscript, the Codex, that word, and the Lhasa record, another famous Hindu manuscript many thousands of years ago. Scientists have long taught that civilization followed savagery, emerged from it slowly over the ages. But Churchward believes the opposite. Savages, he said, did not create the stone-paved roads, the huge carven monoliths, and other great monuments on the Pacific Islands, of which only ruined remains can be seen today. No, duh, people. These must have been built by the ancestors of these primitive tribes, who had reached a high state of civilization, which produced artists and rulers who ordered appropriate tombs and palaces to reflect their glory. Today's savages all over the earth, he says, are the degraded remnants of some dying race which has fallen to this state. Man, in a state of nature, is a doomed being, doomed to death. One of the rarest relics in the world is a bronze jar believed to be the oldest jar ever discovered, estimated at over 12,500 years old. It is inlaid with golden symbols and was taken from one of the motherland cities before the submersion. The legend of the Great Flood appears in the Bible and in the history of almost every race on earth, together with the story in its various forms of Adam and Eve and the creation of man. The Garden of Eden has been traced to several places: the Valley of the Nile, the Euphrates, Asia, and now comes James Churchward's evidence that the lost continent was the true home of the first man and his first civilization, that a lovely Eve possibly lifted a slim arm toward the first apple tree somewhere near the equator between America and the Orient to pluck the forbidden fruit on the island of Mu. Yeah, the Garden of Eden theories back in the day are pretty funny. There's one that's in Kentucky, You know, the one in Florida, that Old World Florida, man, I forgot the guy's name that wrote that book, but the Florida one is convincing. The, you know, Gulf Coast being the Fertile Crescent and all that stuff, and Texas being like Egypt. You know, it's crazy, dude. Crazy. There's actually an Egypt, Texas, close to here. It's over by El Campo, and I think that was really Egypt. No, I don't know. But yeah, so cool article. I'm trying to connect with Martin Lidke. I did a meetup with him, and well, I didn't do the meetup. I met him while they spoke. Him and Jason, and Autodidactic. This has been a year ago or so. I've been to 2 of them. Martin went at the second one, but he's the one that started me on this journey, kind of pushed me, him and Autodidactic, Campbell. Very grateful for them. We've been doing emails back and forth. I'm just kind of waiting to figure out a time to interview him. So that'll be so much fun. Oh my God. He's such a nice guy. He's such a genuine person. And I really, really can't wait for that to happen, and I hope it does. Thank y'all for watching, guys. Love y'all. And yeah, dude, Eve was on Moo.